All
Just
right.
have to be like, and there you are. There we go. I see the REC, whatever that means.
Fair enough.
Reclining
Yes.
electronic couch.
Rear entrance corridor.
Wow.
There is some kind of DC news that's been
Oh,
floating around.
about the streaming service or something else?
Something else. But of course, it's all the YouTubey people that are just like breaking news, but nothing actually official. And it's
Like, yeah,
goes through all of
yeah,
these like people that are like, well, they say it and they say it and they say it, but then like when somebody fucks up, they're like, oh well, they've screwed up before, and they just kind of like they like boost each other up, but then when they're like, oh, they have excuses for when they're wrong. Um,
yeah.
but it sounds like this might be fairly legit because it's I guess Henry Cavill signed a multi movie deal to be Superman again,
Sweet.
but it looks like part of the deal is that he actually came up with the story elements because he wants
Hmm.
Superman to go back to the Boy Scout Christopher Reeve elements, um,
Yeah.
which they were trying to lead to that anyway. If they wouldn't have screwed everything up with um, what's his face doing the reshoots and all that crap.
Josh
Um,
Whedon.
yeah, they were leading up to it. That's what they wanted, was to get to the point of him eventually becoming, breaking free of Darkseid's control and becoming himself again, a better version of himself, actually. Um, but yeah, so because of all that happening, I think Henry Cavill was kind of turned off of doing anything and kind of went off on his own for a while. But now it looks like he came back and said, I want to do these movies. But a lot of people were thinking that the reason why that happened is because um, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, his ex-wife, is Henry Cavill's agent.
Hmm.
So the whole thing was is that they were. I think the whole plan was is that Superman was going to show up. He was going to be the big name person that shows up from the other DC movies in Black Adam, and that he was
Yeah.
going to be the polar opposite of Black Adam. It wouldn't be Black Adam fighting Shazam because Shazam's still the kid learning how to be Shazam
Yeah.
with his family. So it's kind of stupid for him, I think, to even really be a part of it right now. Um, I think he's still finding who he is. So I think having Superman come in and be like, okay, you can't just kill anyone you want, buddy. It's not on my planet, kind of a thing, and have a big beatdown. Um,
Yeah.
but with
Well, and that's what everybody was upset about Shazam, that they show Superman. Everybody's like, Superman's going to show up, and it's just from his chest up, from his chest down, his neck down, and you don't get to see anybody.
and that was part of, they said that the rift that started between Henry Cavill and the DC with Warner Brothers was deciding not to do that. Um, so that's kind of, I guess, the rumor is that Dwayne Johnson and him have to kind of probably hatched this whole idea of, well, what do we want to see in Superman, and making it to where it works out. Because the rumor is like, okay, I guess the same thing that is actually across every one of these YouTubers is the thing of 3 Superman movies. The other part of that, which is kind of streamlined through a few of them, not every one of them has said this, but it looks
Mhm.
like there's also three, at least up to three additional like cameo scenes in other movies. So there's three actual full Superman movies or something like that, I guess, because I guess
Right.
still have him be a huge part of a multi-character movie. So there could be another Justice League. I don't know, but but I think it's supposed to be mainly Superman stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and he'll, if he shows up with, Michael Keaton and, all them, and,
Mhm.
I don't know if Christian Bale has been like, I'm done with that, or if they're waiting on to be like, surprise, Christian Bale said okay, you know. So
Well, the other, I guess, thing about that is that I guess they're initially when they asked Henry Cavill to do the thing for Shazam, and he said no. The whole point was is that initially, I guess, in the beginning, with everything kind of hitting the fan with Justice League not doing so well, like they were planning on making Henry Cavill be the Nick Fury of the DC universe and having him just kind of pop up and bring everybody together and kind of bring the universe together type of everything. And he didn't really want to do that. Now that they have Michael Keaton to do that, they don't need him anymore. He could actually just go be Superman and just do full movies and whatever like that, and then just show up when needed, kind of a thing. But not be the centerpiece to bring everybody together.
yeah, no, that'd be cool.
I think honestly, it's more about. I don't think it's so much about having one character like Michael Keaton show up and everything and try and pull it together. I think it's having those characters that at that point bring the multiverse as a real thing, as a tangible, understandable thing, that there are multiple different types of Jokers, different Batmans and all that. I think that's the centerpiece. I think that's now going to be the thing that they're going to want you to be able to recognize in like a few movies, like between 2 or 3 movies, and to where you'll have multiple people showing up and they'll be like, okay, and then they don't have to do it in every movie.
Right.
But then it'll make you understand that, oh, there's multiple Batman worlds.
Yeah. It'll be like Into the Spider-Verse, where it's like, oh, it makes sense, where there's Peter Parker here who's depressed and fucking loser, and there's this, yeah.
So it just makes sense that almost the multiverse itself is its own character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm looking forward to. So
yeah,
I mean, it kind of sucks that we're never going to have like this major Batman moment of having like all these Batman together, because they're not going to get Clooney to throw that suit back on, and they're sure as hell. I guess you could bring Kilmer back. Just don't have him speak because of his speech issues. But he would pretty much be the old Keaton kind of look. Like kind of like a war-torn Batman that's kind of, wearing the armor suit or something so that he can move and be able to actually do something. But that would actually be kind of cool to have all of them kind of just show up and look at each other like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and a little homage to Joel Schumacher, something like that. It's funny though with Joel Schumacher and Tim Burton, things that I told you I'm listening to that Cape Commentary podcast of Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman, and they're going through all the old '60s Batman, and there's stuff that Kevin Smith would be like, holy shit, that's right out of Tim Burton's Batman, like this certain fight or this certain thing. And then it'll be like, oh shit, that's right out of Joel Schumacher, like the colors of the '60s, like, And so it's quite funny. But
well, and it would also be really, really cool is if maybe they actually brought Chris O'Donnell back and he was Nightwing.
Yeah.
Like an older, wiser version of Nightwing that's like commanding his own, little group or something like that. It would be like, what the hell?
And even, however far they wanted to go. I mean, the more you talk, the more expensive it gets. If you're like, let's bring in Arnold as, Mr. Freeze, and let's bring in Uma Thurman.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Let's bring in Tommy Lee Jones,
Yeah.
So, but it would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
My eye looked like it was like, anyway.
Just having a stroke, people.
Something. I saw a movie the other day that did that. Anyway, did you see?
Made you have a stroke?
Yeah. No, it was a woman where her eye, she was like, what's going on? Oh yeah, it was Lucy. I rewatched Lucy the other day. Don't ask me why. I just felt like I'm gonna watch it, and then I'm like, oh my god, this is the longer it goes, the worse it gets. And that was one where she's on the plane and she looks in the mirror and her eye and her face is like going away and she's turning into dust, and then she takes more drugs and then she's better. Yeah, Luc Besson.
Mm-hmm.
So, but did you watch this the Devil All the Time on Netflix with Spider-Man in it? What's that guy's name? What's that guy's name? Sam? His name?
Tom
Sam?
Holland.
Tom Holland. Yeah, Sam Holland. Tom Holland. And it's got him in it. And it's got the Batman in it. It's got Robert Pattinson.
Oh, okay.
He plays like a preacher,
Which one?
A weird preacher. The Batman. And then anyway, it's pretty cool. And then I think the guy, but I got to check on it, but I think the guy that's a cop is Bucky from the Avengers and everything. So, but I'm not sure. I think so, but then in a way I go, that guy doesn't look like him or as good or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, back to the YouTube thing. Like you and I've said before, I hate when, like, I tuned into a thing, it was like, first look at Godzilla versus King Kong. And I'm like, don't fucking show me the thing of just that picture of them fighting. Like, I don't want to see it. And what do? I tune in. It's like, we have this exclusive first look. And it's like, you show me the poster, like, that's all you're doing. Like, don't give me that. Like, here's what it is. Or like you said, where they're like, here's what the Child's Play TV show, here's what the teaser looks like. And then they're like, here's what I think it is. See, it's in there. I don't know if should be Charles Lee Ray, but it's probably not Charles Lee Ray. Okay, because you don't know. It is or it isn't. We know Brad Dourif isn't going to be in it, but it is the guy that created the original.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, it's all like, oh well, all speculation. So like they make it sound like they know, but then it's like the actual most of the. And then they're basically like, hey, smash that like button, blah, 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 blah. And then they go and they start spewing all this crap that they don't actually know for sure. And you're like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why there's a guy, what's his name? Like Mr. H or something like that I watch. He's a British dude. British, I think. Maybe Australian. British, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's pretty much like right up front. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm basically just pulling it up on this website right in front of you. You're reading it with me. Let's talk about it. That's basically all it is. Like, he straight up tells you, we're just going to talk, and we're going to speculate. And he doesn't come around and make it sound like he knows what he's talking about. It's like,
it'd be like you and I titling this video like everything coming to the in the Flash movie, in Flashpoint. And then everybody go, oh shit, is this? But us not going, maybe if they did, but us going. And I hear they're getting Uma Thurman, Tommy Lee Jones, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Val Kilmer's coming. He's not going to talk though. Oh my God, shit. Boo, boo, boo. Yep. So.
I just don't understand how these YouTubers keep going without so many people going, like a few months later going, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
Like there's just enough of a vagueness at the beginning of saying that. So reports are from other sites, this thing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, let's talk about it. So that they're not specifically saying for sure we know this.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the fans click on it enough. The fans are excited enough to watch it. So like I watch that Godzilla thing and I'm like, whatever, bullshit. But then what do? I watch that guy's other video about Child's Play because I did get fooled by that one because I thought that was going to have something else. And all it was a teaser and him talking about it was just the toy store. It was a camera going down the aisle. And that was it.
See, the rabbit hole. I tell you, we get sucked down that YouTube.
Trust me. I'm looking up YouTube stuff. Peter McKinnon is a really good guy that has a lot of followers. He does camera stuff. Mm-hmm. And, but he like lives in Canada and he has money to go travel. So like I have my GoPro, but I'm not filming the fucking glaciers and fucking going down a raft or, up in the woods or anything. I'm just filming like outside my house or my coffee pot or whatever,
Like,
So
this is as far as I go.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, but he's got some really good photography, and yeah. So, and then, some of those guys, I usually don't follow those guys. I follow guys maybe that are on, that know DVDs or Blu-rays that are coming out. And they're like, oh, here's a 4K coming out. Hopefully it'll be good, blah, blah, blah. And then something good that I was talking to Sean about on my podcast that'll be out on Wednesday about Die Another Day, the worst James Bond movie ever, is there's a guy named Being James Bond who was like, here's what I think No Time to Die will be. I don't think I've said it on the show, but he's like, here's what I think. And this was just him. He even said, I'm speculating, I don't know. But he goes, but the rumors that I've read online and stuff are that Dr. No is the beginning of James Bond, goes all the way through, and then Daniel Craig is the beginning of when Bond became Bond. And then it goes through, and now No Time to Die, he runs into Rami Malek. Rami Malek is wearing these black gloves, just like Dr. No. He's a doctor. He looks like Dr. No, what's going on? And then they're like, he could escape at the end of the movie. James Bond now has to follow him to Jamaica. Hence, Dr. No, it's all in a circle. Mm-hmm. And then Daniel Craig's done, and then they can go, this is all tied together in one circle. Now let's go off and do it, James Bond, whatever. And so I was like, oh, that's brilliant, But like you said, I don't know. I'm just guessing. This would be cool. It's just like you and I said, where Mark Bernardin, when they saw from Fat Man on Batman, or Fat Man Beyond now, when he saw the teaser for Rogue One, mm-hmm. Kevin Smith and him are talking about the teaser, and he goes, you know what would be cool? He goes, she's in that TIE Fighter outfit. He goes, if she got in the TIE Fighter that slams into Darth Vader, if that was like meant to be, knocking Darth Vader out of the way. And Kevin Smith's like, holy shit, why aren't you writing this? Stop making this movie, everybody. Do that. And it's just those fan theories. But when they're put out like they're facts, then you lose me. You're like, screw you. But yeah, it's, speaking of that, being James Bond guy, don't forget what you're going to say. So then it was leaked about what No Time to Die was. Like somebody got to see it. It got leaked. Mm. So he went ahead and read it because he's a fan. He's got a website. I would really hate that because now you have to look into what it is. Yeah. And so he was like, the first half of my video is going to be non-spoilers. Second half, if you want to know what the spoiler is, go ahead and watch the whole video. Yeah. And Sean was like, well, that's cool. I'm into spoilers. I'll go watch that. And I'm like, no, I watched the first half and was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, anyway, what were you going to say?
Well, see, and that's the thing is that some of the people that they quote, say Grace Randolph, right? She's a YouTuber that's always talking about all the movie stuff about DC and, well, anything Marvel, whatever. She had the exclusive interview with Zack Snyder, talking to him about the HBO Max stuff and all that type of thing. She had that, she was the YouTuber that talked to him and everything. And I was just going, okay. But then, there's other people that say that she scoops things, she tries to scoop things, but is, a lot of times she's wrong. And it's kind of a 50-50 chance that maybe this information isn't, as reliable as we thought, kind of a thing. So that's what's kind of hard about it, is that she's good at what she does, but she may not be spot on every time, because a lot of it, they'll come right out and say that they're going by casting lists and all these type of this information that's released, to where they're going by that to find out things, about, what characters are coming back and who's going to be in what movies and things like that, and trying to figure these things out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of I know it's kind of an art to it, I guess, to be able to sift through the bullshit and figure out what's real and what's not. So she's probably really good at that. Enough to the point where Zack Snyder's like, yeah, I'll do an interview with her, because I would be like, there's no way I would be too stressed to be like, okay, I'm going to put my name on this and
Yeah.
not know for
Yeah.
sure whether it's even
Yeah, you're the
legit.
one. Yeah, you're the one interview I'm gonna do, and you're gonna take everything out of context or whatever. It's the
Well, no, I
same
mean
thing.
like in general of being her.
Oh, right.
I mean
Yeah.
being those people.
Oh,
I wouldn't want to grab that information and not know for sure if it's solid and put my name
right.
on
Yeah.
that and put that out there and then find out, a few days later, oh, you were way off the mark or whatever, and be like,
Yeah.
well, it's a crapshoot
Yeah.
when it comes to this Hollywood information.
Yeah. Yeah. Start going down this rabbit hole when you should have been going here, and now you're talking about all this stuff and how Joss Whedon is coming back and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden you go, oh wait, I followed the wrong thing. This is all.
Yeah.
But that leads us back to it's all the things that people are getting. Joe Rogan apologized the other day on his Instagram. He was like on Facebook, or he's like on my podcast. I was talking to a guy, and I said, the fires were set by a guy, who set fires, and he was arrested and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, then I found out that was kind of right. A guy was arrested who did start a fire, but it wasn't this guy who I thought. He said, I went all down this rabbit hole where I didn't have my facts right. I'm sorry, and I'm wrong. And it was like, oh, that's really good to do.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, like we're talking about the clickbait, but also like we talked about a friend of ours who will just post shit that, it's people that go, no, the truth is out there, because they're X-Files fans. And they're like, the truth is out there, and you have to really dig to find out that COVID is fake. And you're like, that's because, like you and I said before, like, Arlington Weekly says COVID is fake. And you're like, oh, nobody reads Arlington Weekly but 5 people.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. So, it's all that. Or the same thing, the clickbait thing, I'm back on that, is like I've said, and there's supposed to be a documentary I need to watch. It's supposed to be really good on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about how your phone and all that shit, everything you look up is watching you, and everything. It's all a big circle.
Mm-hmm.
And being as I do this James Bond podcast, so I'm looking up James Bond, all of a sudden I go to bring up my Google News, and all that's on there is James Bond, 25 best James Bond films, the top 10, the top 5. And it's like, or what's been coming up after things start opening and theaters start opening, it was like No Time to Die, new release date. So I'm like, okay, is this a new release date, or is this, but it's like one day ago. And I'm like, oh shit. And you click on it, it's still November 20th. Read through all this bullshit to say November 20th is still the release date. And you're like, yeah, I already knew that. Like, fuckers made me click on it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's even like some of the simplest things. Like I'll look up something just because I want to. Like it's just some weird thing that'll pop into my head, going, "Oh, I wonder, how old this person is." You look into something, or when did this movie come out, or something, and all of a sudden it'll just start popping up on my screen. And it'll be something that I looked up in Google, but then I'll open up. What is it like? Let's see. Was it? No, it wasn't Twitter. It was something else. Like one of the news things.
Encyclopedia Britannica. You open that up.
Yeah.
It's on the page. Yeah.
No, and that's what it is. It's like it's just something pops up, and I'm like, seriously, like really, it's about as bad as YouTube now, where you basically because I'm writing and because I look up or watch all these writers or whatever, even if I switch to one of my personal YouTube, not the actual iChipness YouTube, there's still it popping up going, these commercial videos going, do you want to be a writer? Well, we can get you writing, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Click, go, bye. It's just like, what the hell?
Well, and it's the same thing with, and I forget who exactly I was looking up. It's something weird that wouldn't normally be something to look up, that I start to type it into Google, and it already knows either my phone has heard what I'm watching or whatever, and I go to type in the name, and it pops up with that person's name when I go to look them up, or a phrase or whatever, and you're like, holy shit, like that, we all know that our phones are listening to us, but this Social Dilemma documentary is supposed to be really like, like how bad it is. Like the guy that created the like button is on there, and Google people and ex-Facebook people who are, it's that thing like you and I've talked about. I love Instagram, and I love promoting my podcast on Instagram or my Facebook page. I barely use regular Facebook unless my wife's like, hey, I sent you a recipe or I sent you something. Then I'll look it up. But other than that, I don't really do that. But do I look at Instagram if I can scroll through and like, oh, look at J-Lo. She's by the beach. Look, honey. And my wife's like, stop showing me shit. I don't care. Unless it's, here's Charlize Theron with a dog. And she's like, oh, dogs.
Yeah, dogs.
But yeah, it's just, and I'll scroll for hours. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I following these people? Whatever. It's like, oh.
Well, I did go through recently and start like deleting people on Instagram that I don't even like, I don't care. Like, and actors and whatever, where I'm just like, why do I still follow these people if they have no real bearing and it's all just them, showing off that they're rich? I'm like, I don't fucking care. Well,
it's like, I did that once and I need to do it again. But it's like Cassandra Peterson, Elvira. Mm-hmm. She'll like put up stuff, but it's all about, her book or her, at Knott's Berry Farm or whatever it's called during October and all this stuff. And so, a lot of it is just promotion. And then a lot of it is, I have podcast people that are on there that I don't listen to their podcast, but I follow their Instagram. But, so some of them I listen to. But it's a whole mess where, I'm sure that I could do better stuff with my time than,
Hey everyone, just doing a quick little edit here because there was a little bit of a slice in there between Phil talking where I took out a little bit of a chunk. There was kind of like dead air, basically, video dead air, I guess you would say. And this little bit between what he was saying and what he started saying was a little funk. It was real funk. So, just saying hi.
Figuring out the GoPro, like to do videos or whatever, which I'm going to be putting a video on my thing, my Celluloid Heart podcast, I think is the name of my YouTube. Chip will figure it out and put it in the description way down there.
Way down where his crotch is.
But I went and saw Jurassic Park in the theater, and I saw this movie on HBO Max, this old movie called The Naked City. And it's really cool. They're not naked. It's not like the nude bomb from Get Smart. That's what you were thinking.
Damn it.
It's, It's
Mistake by that much.
That's right. They never showed Barbara Feldon naked. I'm like, come on, show 99 naked. But anyway, it's really good. It's on HBO Max. It's an old movie from 1948. Chip already checked out. See the glaze over his eyes. See the buffering on his face. Yeah. So.
Hello again, peeps. So this whole chunk was cut out because it was very not suitable for anything, but we were laughing our asses off, so I wanted to at least leave that part in because it was funny just to see that part. You get the last little bit of the joke, very last bit, but there's not enough context in there to do bad things to my account. So let's get back to it.
I'm like, oh, it's my daughter.
It's got off the rails.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Oh, God. Yeah. I don't want my account deleted.
Oh, man. Hey, we're talking. This is news. It was on Google. It was all over. Well, that part wasn't on Google, but.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a good laugh.
I'm awake.
Yeah. But anyway, that was the news that I heard. I mean, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, where you don't want a James Gunn thing of them going, remember 20 years ago when you said this?
Mhm.
And you're like, yeah, but that woman was a bitch. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Remember
And I
back when you
said in the
were
beginning of my
defaming?
sentence was that I think I went too far. That was the point of the whole thing.
Yeah.
My cousin was the one that said I should have went further. Yeah,
Yeah.
his fault. Yeah. But anyway, you been watching anything? Anything? You got anything?
We started Yellowstone.
My wife watches that. She's on season whatever. I think the third season started last whatever.
We only watched because the first episode was like an hour and a half premiere, and then I think we watched the second episode. So yeah, but like, of course, like my wife's like, sitting around, I am not happy with the fact that in 2 episodes already there have been like 3 killed or mutilated animals. She's like, that does not need to actually be happening. I understood the when you have to basically off an animal that's,
Yeah. Broken leg or horse
Yeah.
with a broken leg. Yeah.
But then the other stuff was just kind of over the top kind of stuff where you're like, really? Did we really need to see something getting ran over by a car?
Yeah.
Like, really? I mean, that was pretty much the words that came out of my wife's mouth was, come on, really?
Yeah.
Like, don't look,
Yeah. Well, it's where, what was it my wife said? It was something that we were going to watch. And something that somebody else, was it you and your wife? Somebody says, like, I won't watch John Wick because, yeah, I think it was you, said my wife won't watch John Wick because of what happens to the dog.
Mhm.
And it's like, but that makes the whole thing like go forward. Like that's
what I was trying to tell her. I was like, we could fast forward past that and just, you can know that he's killing everyone because of what they did to his dog. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they took his car.
But she's not going to care because she's not going to want to see him basically just, it is nothing but him beating up and killing people.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, for a guy, you're like, awesome.
Yeah.
For her, she's like, come on. But then you show her Atomic Blonde, and then maybe she'll be like, oh, she's a badass chick.
Well, and there's also, I mean, to an extent, the Equalizer, I guess, was a more intelligent version of John Wick in a way. Like the way that it's, presented. John Wick is just more of a, personal vendetta thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Equalizer 2 was personal, right?
Yeah. And then, but also, and then the show though for Equalizer is more like the A-Team and like Stingray, like we need your help, and then he would come and help them.
Yeah, that whole formula of
yeah,
who you gotta call. So.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, that was good TV back then.
Mm-hmm.
But no, John. But yeah, there was something where there's certain things where I know that my wife can't watch because if they do something to a dog or whatever. But like John Wick, she's fine with because she likes the movie and he gets revenge on the dog. And then, like I said, in the third John Wick, they have these badass German Shepherds that are just like helping her defeat people. It's badass. And she'll be like, come on. And she like bends over and they like hop on her back and get up to get the others. And then she climbs up there too. So
and she says German words, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was the German words. Because I think I remember like watching interviews where she was talking about how she had to actually learn the commands and everything. And of course, in my head, I'm thinking of Cool Runnings, the Heinz, Sein. I'm like, nope, that's not right.
I have never seen Cool Runnings. What? Mm-hmm. That's a movie that I need to see. And maybe we'll do a podcast about it. I hear it's good. I like John Candy. I just, at the time, I don't know what it was. At the time, I'm like, sports? Fuck that. That's what I said. I'll watch it. I think it's on Disney Plus or something.
It is. I mean, I think that was one of the first things she watched.
Yeah. I'll check it out. Like I said, I've been watching movies that I haven't seen lately. So that's what I try. Well, except for Jurassic Park, but
Hmm.
I try to watch more movies that that I'll be like, oh my god, I've never seen that. It's so cool. So, what if all of a sudden it was like, hey, put the gun down. Hey, what's holy shit? And you were like,
Yeah, spooky.
are you kidding? And
Right.
how long do you wait before you go, I need to call the police because Philip is not coming back into frame? Like, what's going on?
Well, because I know that if that were to happen, you could pull off probably the loud noise to make it sound like a gun in through these headphones,
Right.
but you're not skilled enough to make the blood look real and make it look,
Right.
So once I saw that, I'd be like, oh shit, gotta
But
call.
what if you missed the blood or something? What if it was like up against this wall to the side of me that you can't see? I was like, hey, what do you do? And then all of a sudden, hey.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's still be too much splatter. Like at least
Yeah.
across that back part right there, it'd be like,
Plus you'd have this. What was he doing? And you'd be like, oh fuck, that's a guy. But you wouldn't know because you'd be like, what's going on?
And then I'm gonna
You'd be
totally
like,
screw up everything because I'm gonna tell the police like he was killed by ninjas.
yeah. Yeah.
They had
There's
masks
a
and
guy wearing
everything.
he was killed by train robbers, I think it was. Yeah,
The Apple Dumpling Gang.
that's right. Oh, fucking horrible.
They killed him just by looking like Don Knotts and what's his name?
Unless they went vicious like that, then that'd be cool. Like the Apple Dumpling Gang, Unforgiven Apple Dumpling Gang. Oh, give me that all day. Yeah,
Movie script.
like they're old. Yeah,
Get to it. Movie script.
yeah, exactly. Except both of those people are dead now.
No, new people.
Oh, but being
Like a
the
whole
Apple
new.
Dumpling Gang.
Yeah, like do an Apple Dumpling Gang type thing, but vicious, like Unforgiven style.
Right. Yeah, that would be weird, but yes, I'm all for you. I'm still on board for your Smokey and the Bandit movie, like Kid Rock doing the song, and fucking whoever would be the main, probably Pedro Pascal because he reminds me of Burt Reynolds.
Okay. So him
I've
doing
never seen Pedro Pascal. Oh, go ahead.
Mandalorian, right?
Yeah.
All I've
Right.
been hearing lately is that he like all these rumors. That's why I don't know what is true with YouTube and what is so much bullshit and how much of it becomes telephone through all these YouTubers. Because they're basically saying that he walked off set of The Mandalorian because he couldn't stand wearing the helmet anymore.
Yeah, that sounds like
Really?
bullshit because I think he was the one that people were like, you should take the helmet off. We need to see your face. Like, people are saying they're surprised that somebody hasn't been like Pedro Pascal, like The Kingsman, Triple Frontier, like all these films that he's done. Like, he's the big guy. Like, let's show his face.
Yeah.
And he never takes the mask off. And it's like, okay, awesome. And I think he gets that. So I couldn't see him going, I want to take it off. Like,
Yeah. Well, not just that. Like, it'd be very easy to just have a stand-in wearing that helmet most of the time, and him just talking into a mic for the voice. Like, he doesn't actually have to be the one standing there.
I always wonder that about Deadpool. Like, how much of Deadpool is Deadpool? How much of Spider-Man is Spider-Man?
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
I think I've actually been surprised because I think, like, even when you find some of the cut scenes and the outtake things of Deadpool, and you actually see Ryan Reynolds take off the mask and start go to talk or whatever, you're like, oh, I thought it was just some dude wearing the mask, and he's off on the side going,
yeah. No, and same thing with although Anthony Daniels, I think he's always 3PO, but that's another one where you could get although if you watch Rise of Skywalker, but you can tell if you look at the eyes of Chewbacca, you can tell it's not Peter Mayhew. This guy does it well, but and he had Peter Mayhew to watch before because they would double team it through the other films, but you know, you can tell in his eyes that he's not Peter Mayhew.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's and sometimes that's a thing where it's a body movement or something where you're just like, that doesn't look right. You know, that doesn't look like, you know, like you have a certain walk, I have a certain walk, and somebody else doing something would be like, that's not Ryan Reynolds' walk. You know, these big fans, like we talked about earlier on YouTube things, like fans are going to go, that's not him. I know it's not Pedro, you know. But yeah. What else? Yeah, that Mandalorian 2, season 2 looks great. That'll come out next month. Very excited. I still haven't watched The Boys season 2, and I haven't watched Ratcheted yet, or whatever. I think it's called Ratcheted. The I had this yesterday when I talked to my wife, and I talked on my video about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I want to say once, and it was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I think everybody's watching that before Ratcheted, because that's like the prequel, you know. She's Nurse Ratched.
Oh, okay.
She's Nurse Ratched. She's a mean nurse that was funny because that girl never got much work because all they saw her as was this mean bitch. And now all of a sudden, what's her name? Sarah Paulson is like, I'm going to be Nurse Ratched, and in the beginning of her career, like coming to the insane asylum. So pretty cool.
That's cool.
So
yeah, I didn't know what it was. I saw something on my phone about people were watching that. And I'm like, all right,
yeah, looks like it could be good.
American Horror Story spinoff or something. I don't know. So I just
it's from the same. Yeah, it's from the same guy and everything. But yeah.
No, the guy
that
did Glee.
Yeah, does American Horror Story. He did those. He also did the like Feud. Like it was Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, like their feud that they had. So it was like that while making Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Like, you know, it's real cool. It's a good movie. Anyway, I haven't watched the Feud movie, but yeah, I know I lost you when I talk old movies. You're like,
everybody, just about to jump into the second video with Phil. I did a previous video last night with him that was very not suitable for work, so I'm going to edit that, or I have already edited it. It should be before this one. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, we kind of went off the rails, so I'm going to see where that goes. Where how I can edit that video down, because there was quite a bit that needed to be cut out, and then we'll work on adding that to this video, and we'll see where it goes from there. I'm gonna have a conversation with Phil. I think about a few things, one of them being WandaVision, because the trailer just dropped. And I just watched Fast Time at Ridgemont High read through for the Core Foundation. So, yeah, I think that'll be it. So, see you in a minute. Yeah, cool. So hopefully this second part of the video, I guess, will be more suitable for work.
yeah,
maybe. We'll see how that goes.
that's Pornhub related.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I even tried to watch that video like earlier today, and just right off the bat, I was like, holy crap. Like it went from us talking about some stuff to then, hey, let's talk about DC stuff, to then all of a sudden it got bad again, and I went, oh, holy crap. So yeah, I'm gonna have to really edit that down. And so I went ahead and when before you clicked into this Zoom call, I made a little video on my phone of me basically saying that you know, about to do another video with Phil, blah blah blah, gonna do editing and all that crap. So so I had 3 ideas. 1, did you watch WandaVision trailer yet?
No.
Okay, so that's one of the ideas is go ahead and watch it right now. Tell me what you think.
Are you gonna share the thing, or you want me to do it on my phone?
No, you just go ahead and watch it, and yeah, because I'll just cut it down.
Right. All right.
1 minute, 21 seconds.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go down to YouTube rabbit hole now. Do a video of this. Ooh. Ah. Screen grab will be this.
Can't believe that just happened. Okay. So what do you think?
I thought it was very cool. It looks like they could do all kinds of things with it. It's kind of like you and I said about, sorry, I was closing everything out on my phone. Kind of like you and I said about the Doctor Strange movie, where they could just do trippy shit. You and I said this personally with each other, is what happened in Spider-Man, at the end of Spider-Man, him fighting Mysterio, that was his name, right?
Yeah.
All that shit, you could just, it would be like a nightmare. Like if Doctor Strange was in a nightmare, like him, and that's what this is like. You could just go, he's dead. Like, what do you mean? Like, how's Wanda there? Like, who's this woman dressed as a witch? Like, what's going on here? And like, is she gonna like walk him through the afterlife, or what? Is
Well,
it
that's the
possible?
thing. I'm really loud. I can hear myself really loud.
Okay. Hang on. Okay.
Okay. That's the thing about it, is that the way that lady is kind of more prominent, with her kind of walking out in that first scene, but then her being in the car and everything. I was kind of sitting there going, okay, so is she like a villain? Is she like the mastermind behind manipulating Wanda and making her mess with reality? So, and there have been, I don't know, some kind of rumors and stuff that, certain characters are going to start showing up in small bit, but they're going to eventually actually be something major in the actual movies. So it's very possible that she's either, that actress is the actress that's going to play, or that actress is playing a rendition of a character, and what they really look like is totally different. So it's kind of we'll see what happens. But.
Well, and that's what's neat about Kevin Feige, is that he always has a plan. So it's like, you could be like, okay, what does this mean? Where's this going? And then it's like, oh, you have to watch this to go to this. And she's actually a minion of somebody else, or, whatever. It's kind of like they said recently, I don't know if you heard about it, but I saw it on Nerdist on their Instagram thing. They have these videos that they put out on YouTube and they share them on Instagram, and you click on blah, blah, blah. And they had, it was about Tony Stark's daughter fighting this guy who does time travel or something, it's this time manipulator guy. And they said that that'll be really cool. What was that?
Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, that guy.
Yep. Yeah, but, pretty much kind of, I think they said that they actually said that he's going to show up in Ant-Man 3. Kang will show up. But the thing that I was thinking is that lady might actually be Morgana, the one that fought with Merlin and stuff. I believe that in parts of the Marvel Universe and stuff, she's been kind of a thorn in quite a few people's sides. And I think it's a good link into the Eternals movie, because the dude that played Jon Snow is supposed to be playing the Black Knight, who the Black Knight was one of the Avengers for quite a while. I don't remember if it was like part of the regular Avengers or if it was the West Coast Avengers, but he was. So for the Black Knight to be fighting Morgana, yeah, it was cool. Or wait, could I do that?
But also,
fingers.
tried to do that. Yeah. But also the the Black Knight was in Holy Grail. I saw him in Holy Grail. He's like, it's just a flesh wound. Is it
Yeah.
that same guy? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
he's got a regenerative powers. They grow back after a while. He just doesn't tell you that. He's like hopping around on his head. And then all of a sudden, bloop, bloop, bloop.
And I think
I'm
something
like
like
Wolverine, bitches.
I think something like the Eternals, something like Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, something like Suicide Squad 2, like bringing all these characters that nobody knows, just like they did with Guardians 1, you know, where all of a sudden you're going to be like, who's this? Like, who's Angelina Jolie's character? Who is this? Who is the guy from Stuber? Who's this guy? You know, and you're just going to want to go, you know, it's good for Marvel because you want to go get the comics and read up on it. And it's good for them because now you can go, especially with that, now you're in space, you can go all over the place, you know. And then with this, you can do so many different TV, whatever, you know, episodes. Every episode's different. I was just thinking about that, which is weird that I didn't know what we were going to talk about. But there was a show called, I think it was called Police Story, but I don't know. But it was in the 70s, this cop show. And I had never heard of it. And then I saw it was on my Rabbit Ears TV one day. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm like, what show is this? And I start to look it up. And it's a one-off, you know, every show was a one-off. So it was maybe in this police station in this city, but it was not following Columbo. It was not following Starsky and Hutch. It was following one cop. It was more of a serious drama type. And then the next episode would be, you know, Robert Forrester as a cop. And then the next episode would be somebody else. And that's what's kind of cool with WandaVision, where they could just, every episode could be totally different, but also all tied together, you know.
Well, that's the hard part is like people weren't sure if they were still going to move forward with releasing WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff on Disney Plus because everything's being pushed back because of COVID for at least movie-wise being released.
Yeah.
I mean, with Disney Plus, it doesn't matter. Like if they go and they keep filming stuff for Disney Plus, they can release it as they want. It's no problem. But they're at this, they have a map that Feige is doing, you know, it's connected. Like Black Widow was supposed to already be out. We should have already seen Black Widow, and that was supposed to lead. It wasn't as big of a, I don't believe it was supposed to have anywhere near a huge connection to the Disney Plus stuff, but it was supposed to introduce the next Black Widow. Like her sister is supposed to take over, I guess, pass the torch type of thing. So, but for everything else, it's kind of like, okay, they can't do anything with, what is it? Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is directly linked to WandaVision. Stuff that happens in WandaVision makes things go a little crazy or whatever, and Doctor Strange has to deal with it. So I don't know. That's the hard part about it is like, you know, I know everybody wants to get back to work and get things moving, but they can still keep, I guess, technically, financially, they can still keep going with the plan and keep making movies and just have it backstocked and ready to go for when people are ready to go to the movies. Because I mean, didn't they do that with? They did that with the last two Matrix movies, right? They released them only 3 months apart, I believe.
Yeah, I think, instead of doing like Back to the Future, they did the same thing as Back to the Future. 2 and 3 were filmed on top of each other, back to back. Yeah. But Back to the Future waited a year to put them out. Yeah. This one, or did they wait 3 months? This one waited like 3 months. But the thing that's cool is, Black Widow is a prequel, so you don't really have to do much, you know. And then, you know, and then the Eternals and all that. But it's also like, now are you going to cram everything into, you know, how Disney used to have 1 year, they'd release a movie for the summer and a movie in November or whatever. Yeah. And Marvel would. And now all of a sudden, is it going to be like, we're releasing Black Widow and then we're releasing something else on top of that, you know, the Eternals, you know, or what?
Yeah.
But I think, all that stuff's I'm hoping, well, with Marvel, that it's gonna come out of the blue. All of a sudden they'll be like, here's an Eternals trailer, and you'll be like, holy shit, So, but yeah, a lot of people are getting back to work. You saw that The Rock and Gal Gadot, and forget who the other person is on Red Notice, but they're doing a movie called Red Notice, and it's basically a notice that Interpol gets. It's like the highest villain, real life villain in real life, like Osama bin Laden would be a red notice. You got to go hunt him down, and so they're back to work. So I'm hoping
that's why The Rock ripped off his gate.
And yeah, exactly. And
I'm waiting for you. I gotta go.
Well, like
keep Gal Gadot waiting. She'll kick my ass.
It's funny. Everybody check out The Rock's Instagram. Just for the cheat days alone is just funny. Like
all the pancakes.
Somebody turned off the light behind me. But it was it's funny him apologizing. Like, I had to go to work, so I left. I broke my gates because I had to get out of there. But yeah, I think it's just like Rosario Dawson had a picture of her going back to work, getting COVID tested. So I'm hoping that's for Osaka. But it might have been an old, she might have already filmed that earlier and then been like, they're like, you can't release this until after we release Mandalorian 2 trailer. Then you can, put that out.
Okay, that freaked me out though with that light back behind you.
That's all right. Well, it's motion activated, and I was walking around there earlier, so.
Okay, good.
I like to get that for the house, motion activated lights, where I can just walk into a room. Although I also wanted to do a Demolition Man to be like, illuminate, and the lights come on. So
I would like for you to say illuminate and say fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Doing my Google stuff.
Well, but that's the thing though, is that like you want it to light up, but then there's those like, you wake up to go take a piss and you're just kind of like bumping into shit. And all of a sudden this light comes off. You're like, you're like even worse than you were before. Running into
Yeah, very true. Well, and in the restroom, I have a light. We have lights in the toilets. So we have a little thing that hangs on the lid. So what? 2 fans?
A little bit.
No.
You bougie, Phil.
Well, maybe, but here's the thing. What you just talked about, turn on that light when you're trying to take a piss, and you're like, oh my God, it's a little red light, a little blue, green, whatever color I want to make it. It's like your Philips Hue lights. And so I can just make it whatever
It's like
color.
purple, please.
And when it's dark, the light comes on. When it's light, that light will turn off. So when I open the door to walk in, it's dark and the light will come on. And I'm like, oh, there's my target. And it hangs on the side. So,
Stay on target. Stay on target.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
Phil,
always like,
why did you turn off your targeting scare?
I'm like Porkins. Yeah, I think movie. Well, and like I said on my check out my YouTube video somewhere, where I went to the theater to see Jurassic Park, and I don't know if this is going to be on the video that we talked about earlier. I don't know, but I went to the theater and I thought, and it's like, because not many movies are being released in the theater, they're putting out old movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jurassic Park, whatever. So I'm like, oh, Jurassic Park at the big theater. I wonder how many people are going to see it. And it was just me till the day of. And then 2 other people way behind me, got tickets. And so then when I get there, it's those 2 way in the back and me up front in the middle. And it was like, wow, nobody's, either everybody went and saw Jurassic Park when they were playing it at the drive-in or whatever, because they still had the drive-ins open. Or people are just like, it's Jurassic Park. I've seen it a billion times. Yeah. But I think slowly, so that's what kind of sucks. I have that AMC A-list.
My third topic that I was going to bring up, it kind of segues into it, which is nice. But, I mean, you don't have to agree to it. I understand completely if you don't, because I'm not sure exactly I know the foundation, I know the idea where it came from, but I don't know exactly how to make it happen. Okay. So because we do this, because we talk about writing, there are a few people. There's a guy called Kevin the Writer. He does like a thing. Theirs is live. Ours obviously wouldn't be live, but he does a live feed where it's basically him and his sister. She's a writer also, and they go live, and they're both like separate feeds like this, right? And they talk to people on the chat and everything, but they're basically doing kind of writing sprints together.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll just be writing and stuff. And I haven't really watched it because it's basically a long, like 3 hours or 2 or 3 hours or whatever. So I mean, actually went through to watch it to see like, what is this all about? Because it's, a bunch of people chatting and I kind of watched a little intro where they say hi to everybody and they start talking and stuff, but I haven't actually gotten to the meat of it, of what exactly they do. But I was sitting there going, I know they're going to write at some point because it says writing sprints. But I mean,
Yeah.
I was telling Katie, I said, I think I'm going to bring this up to Phil about maybe on these nights where we don't have much to talk about as far as like movie news, anything like that. That maybe because you have your laptop right there. And I think I might be able to kind of minimize this enough to where I could still see and we can talk and everything, but I could still type. I can open up in a separate window, Google Docs, and just sit there and type or whatever. And maybe you could do the same thing on your laptop instead of having to like use your phone or whatever. But we could be talking and typing and kind of, just talk about what we're doing and just kind of write and whatever. So I thought that would be cool. Just kind of motivate each other, kind of talk to each other and just kind of.
Well, and you and I don't know if we talked about this before on our one of our chat videos, but one time when I had my first apartment, and I invited you over and we were like, what should we do? And we were like, let's do a writing challenge kind of thing. And you were big into vampires at the time, Anne Rice and stuff. And you were like, I'm going to write a vampire thing or something, whatever you were writing. And I was like, I always had an idea of a guy who he's like a bounty hunter or whatever. He falls into the trash, running from somebody, falls into the big dumpster, jumping from the roof or whatever, 3 stories down, lands in the dumpster, gets out, runs away. Later on, he's in a bar. Somebody's yelling at him. He goes to pull his gun out and his gun's gone. Cut to, if it was a movie, cut to the trash can, the gun in the dumpster, and him like, fuck. And then he gets beat up. And so I was like, I got that. So I remember I wrote that one sentence down, like guy loses gun, gets in fight, no gun. And then you were like, why don't you try a vampire thing? And I was like, gee, I don't know what. And we had music playing. I had Oingo Boingo, Best of Boingo playing. And Dead Man's Party was playing. And I was like, oh my God, I'll do a guy walking with the dead man over my shoulder. Holy shit. Yes. Vampires. And I start writing this whole thing I'm like, okay, Chip. And I write this thing about the guy showed up and, he showed up, the address was 1620 and he didn't think about the address. What he remembered was stepping off the Mayflower with Captain John Smith. And I was like, holy shit. And then walks into the house and all these people have their dead bodies that they're just eating on and sucking the blood from. And that was as far as it went. I never went any further, but that was a thing where you had your little story and I had mine. My thing is though, doing a video and then being like trying to talk while I'm going, where's this story going to go? And you're going, I'm really deep into it. And then I'm going, oh dude, I just thought of this. And now is that going to change your story? Or is it going to be us writing individual separate stories? Okay,
That's
go
it.
ahead.
So that's the idea is that because I'd been talking about which kind of fueled the whole thing. I guess it's kind of in that essence, because I'm now having to semi-plot with the breakdown, but then I'm still pantsering. I really think that if we were to do this, it would actually be short stories or lead into maybe little novellas or something like that. But I'm hoping more short stories and just do a compilation of short stories, even if they are a start of a short story. And I'm not necessarily saying that they have to be finished during the video.
Right.
kind of a situation. But at least if they're short stories, and then maybe throw them together into their own books or something like that, or whatever. I mean, you do with whatever you want with yours. I mean, obviously, but I mean, if I were to sit there and go, wow, these actually, this compilation seems like this would be a good compilation, or maybe it would take quite a few of these before I got enough of them to go, okay, well, these seem to go together and these go together, or,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, or it could even be, a challenge. You're like, what should we write? And I'm like, why don't you write a He-Man episode, or, or just, something out of your wheelbox. Why don't you write a film noir, like a noir thing, like, and then you're like, why don't you write mystical, why don't you write a fucking World of Warcraft? And I'm like, I have no idea. But okay. So, yeah. But, yeah, it could be, it would be fun where also like, like you said, we'd have to figure it out, but maybe it's a thing of like, what do you got? Well, I wrote this thing about this detective. Oh, should I kill him? Should I not kill him? Kill him. Where it's not plotted. It's just, what do you want me to do? Kill him. Okay, I'm going to kill him. Okay, how'd that come out? Oh, that came out good. I wish you wouldn't have killed him. Oh, you fucker. I already wrote 50 pages. So
Well, and that could be cool because if we do it this way, then we could, I don't know, this will probably be something we'll have to play with. It's kind of the situation that you run into where you're sitting here going, making videos or making
podcast.
Either way, you're sitting here going, do I change this? Do I shorten it? Do I do 3 movies? Do I do 2 movies? Whatever. So with this, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, as far as making this as a video, then do we hardline it where we go, okay, we got about an hour of just chit chat, candid bullshit. Then from there we go, okay, time to write. We write for 2 hours or whatever and talk while we're writing, kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just kind of begin it with a little bit of a thing and then turn it into that, or is it something where we do a candid as one video and then do the writing as another? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. It would depend on what our days look like, what our times look like. I'm not always in areas where I can do that, or even if I'm on my day off, as you have the same thing. It's like, I want to hang out with the wife. I want to do my own thing.
yeah.
And that's where sometimes I go, I need to compartmentalize a little better,
Yeah.
where, I may go, oh, I'm going to do a video. Like, I don't realize it. I may be like, I'm going to go do a podcast with Jason or something. And my wife will go, she's in the back of her head going, this security system, this lock, whatever needed to be put up. Philip doesn't care about that. But when it comes to his podcast, he runs out and it's like, okay, so I need to adjust that, where I can't just be like, I'm going to be 3 hours talking to Chip. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What about, like, I'm only off on this day, or, whatever. Yeah. So, we could figure that all out. And, that might be fun. I don't know how long to make it, because, it might be more, and then also, is it going to be after the second, if we're starting new stories each time, or if we're continuing, or, however it works,
Well, I figured I don't know. My whole thing is that I just don't want it to seem like too much work. I mean, to the point where like if it feels comfortable enough to just, you're going to be, at this spot, to where you're able to sit for this amount of time where you're at, to where we can do a portion of it of us just talking. And then we go, okay, we're ready to write. Let's write. Let's do it.
And the other
take
thing,
some trial and error.
Here's the other devil's advocate part of it. Now, do you want to waste, if it is wasting 2 hours or an hour of your time writing another story, when you could be taking that hour to write on Heroes Among Us, or, the Veil Chronicles? So,
Well, and that's the other thing too, is I want to be able to
happen.
freely talk to you about it. I don't want to, I want to be able to freely talk about what we're writing on camera. So if it's anything to do with the other stories, I want to be able to do that, because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, kind of a thing. I kind of want to be able to bullshit about what we're writing
Yeah.
and actually have input on each other's stuff to a point where people are seeing it change right before them.
Yeah.
Can't really do that with the Heroes Among Us stuff because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, no, that might be fun. Might be interesting. A little different. And yeah, I figured out that my talking to you about writing, and so I started this one story. Then I decided I didn't scrap it. I still have it, but my old Kentucky Hell story has now I started writing this detective type thing.
Mhm.
Then I was watching this movie called Naked City, The Naked City from 1948, and I started thinking, wait, I love film noir. I love detectives. I need to do like a detective, like a private eye type story and do that, write what you love, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll change it to that. So anyway, those are things that go through my head. But yeah, it's the same thing with being busy, being working. It's like, oh, I don't have endless amounts of money where I can just sit at home. Like I wish I could, but no, I have, to go to work. I have a wife. We have things we have to do. We have to take the dog to the vet. We have to go to our own doctor's appointments. We have to do this and that. And then you're like, okay, so now it's good that I have 3 days off, but still those 3 days, I find myself not watching as many movies as I did when I had 2 days off because I felt pressured for time in a way. And I love movies and I want to watch all these movies I haven't seen. And now I'm just like, I got 3 days and I watched 2 movies in the 3 days. So, and then rewatched a bunch of TV, Silver Spoons and Grounded for Life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that would be fun and interesting if we could figure out, the time, like you said, is anybody going to want to watch a 2-hour video of us writing, or an hour, or whatever, like we said, maybe it's an hour, something, but yeah.
Yeah. And it may be something that we try and we just don't like it, or we don't feel comfortable doing it, or it just doesn't seem to flow as well as we think it might, or something, or we might try it a couple times to see if like maybe if just the first time didn't work right.
And it's also like you said about the podcast and about it doesn't want to feel like work. If it starts feeling like work, then it's not fun.
Yeah.
And so it should just be fun. And so yeah. No, I agree. I like it.
It makes me wonder though, like as far as how that would work for us to be able to screen share and maybe show each other the writing. To be like, okay, well, I don't know if that would just be pointless because it would just be kind of like, that's too small. I can't see it.
Yeah, I think people are watching on their phone, they can't see it. But it would be a thing of me, I don't know, me or you, like, hey, I wrote this thing. Guy walks in, let's say my detective thing, right? I don't know if we talked about it on here. So the girl goes into the room. She's going to bust this guy. And I kept thinking, I don't want to kill him yet. He's my main bad guy. I need to keep him alive. I need to have him maybe escape. But then I'm like, that's not realistic. The cops would have the place surrounded. This is FBI girl that's going in there with her team of 2 guys. They're going to get this guy. And he can't escape out the door and then out the window. And then she gets into the bedroom and I'm like, I should just kill him. That would be interesting because now I got to come up with another villain. And I go, yeah, I'm going to kill him. And then I go, no, wait, I should kill her. And then I was going to kill her. And then I had her get wounded. And Chip was like, that's totally false, which I think we talked about. Chip was like, that's bullshit. And she would be destroyed. She would have no foot. And so then
at that range with that weapon, yeah.
But I went with that, where that would be interesting, where I'm reading it to you. Okay, here's she says and then you're like, oh wait, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Kill the guy, kill the girl, and then but I read it to you, so it's set up, and then it's like choose your own adventure, and then you're like, kill her. And then I'm like, ooh, that's in her. Okay. Really? Okay. Or whatever. If we give that decision to you, or if I go, I need some help here. What do you think? And
Mhm.
you're like, I think kill her. And I'm like, no, I'm going to kill him. And you're like, okay, at least you helped, but yeah.
Well, and then there's the part of it that maybe, you'll read up to a certain point and I'll go, oh, okay, I wonder what's going to happen next. But in that essence, you don't want to be too into your own head about like, what do I do? What do I do? Just like let it do the pantsering part and let the character do what they're going to do. If they're going to kill the other person, they're going to kill the other person. If somebody's going to trip and accidentally shoot somebody in the ass, we don't fucking know.
Yeah. But it's also
that happens.
But it's also the thing of us giving a back and forth. If the video is just up us in our head writing our characters, then nothing may come out of my mouth and out of your mouth, because it'll be like, I want to ask him what to do, but oh, wait a minute, they just pulled a gun out. Okay, great. So,
and all it's going to be is just go, ooh,
yeah,
wow.
Ooh, look at that, yeah. So, but who knows? But yeah, maybe. And then did you watch that Fast Times read through?
Yeah.
So I had seen this.
Sorry.
I saw it somewhere, and but I never watched it. I was like, okay, a read through, that's interesting, but I was like, I don't know where to find it. And then last night when I'm scrolling through all those Graham Norton, Ellen DeGeneres, all of a sudden it pops up this read through, and I'm like, oh, the whole video, okay. And I click on it, and Dane Cook is like hosting it and all that, and it was really cool. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I took over. Go ahead.
No problem. So I kind of ran out and was like telling my wife, I'm going to watch this thing, whatever. But I kept pausing it just to go out there and tell her parts of it. It'd be like, it's so cool. But Dane Cook basically pulled a Josh Gad, because Josh Gad has been doing the Reunited Apart thing, bringing people together from old 80s movies and having them, basically bringing them in and asking them about their experiences and then having them read some of the lines, the iconic lines. Well, Dane Cook did the same thing with bringing everybody together for Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But the difference was, it was kind of cool, was that the actual person who played, Sean Penn, who played Spicoli in the original movie, one of the what was it called? Core, I think.
Core.
That Sean Penn is a part of or created. Yeah. They were actually, that's what they were doing, was trying to get money for that, to help people that were stricken by, COVID-19 and people that needed help as far as getting free testing, things like that, tracing. But it was cool because, Dane Cook did all this and he brought all these people together. Mm-hmm. Now, I kind of watched a few little snippets of him having interviews after the fact with people where he was like, oh, everybody brought it. And then, but I think the two things that he said was that like the MVP of the whole show was Shia LaBeouf, like totally becoming a Spicoli, like method acting, smoking pot, Spicoli.
Being in a car. Yeah.
And then, but the other one was that Brad Pitt had like multiple hats that he was wearing throughout the
costume.
And then they did bring up Jennifer Aniston actually wearing a bikini, which they didn't actually explain that it was over her tank top. So I was like, she just was wearing a bikini. Okay, whatever. But then when I watched it and she unveiled it and it was actually a bikini over a tank top, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, she took off her sweat because when Jamie Gertz takes is Jamie Gertz, not Jamie Gertz.
No,
Phoebe Cates. Yeah. When she takes off the top, I was waiting for Jennifer Aniston. I was like, did she have like a bikini that unties right there in the center? But she didn't. She had, but yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh my God, that's cool. Yeah. What was funny was, so Sean Penn's on there, and the first thing I thought was, when I saw the pictures, or I was like, oh my God, like he's always kind of, we talk about it where he's kind of like, he tried forever to get away from Spicoli. Like, I'm not Spicoli. Like, I'm gonna be this other actor. Like, I'm, and so then I was like, oh my God, he's playing Spicoli again. Like, that'll be kind of cool because it's only his voice. He's got that kind of deep in his throat kind of voice, whatever. I can't explain it, but that, hey, Mr. Hand, like he says it a certain way. And then it's like, oh, he's just playing the guy, rest in peace, the guy from The Last Boy Scout, the pizza guy, the bad guy in Last Boy Scout. He's playing his part, and Shia LaBeouf's playing Spicoli's part. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then Brad Pitt playing Brad, and all that. So it was really cool. And then for them to read how that script read, like about the girls, like with no throat, like, deep throating the carrot, and Morgan Freeman's going, good Lord.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I was just kind of disappointed.
And it's only an hour long. So if anybody wants to watch it, it's, they kind of cut it down to whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think apparently they were having technical difficulties anyway, so they had to cut it down because of the issues.
Jimmy Kimmel did really good.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I was kind of disappointed in, because seeing the whole cast like that, I thought that it would have been much cooler if Sean Penn actually played Mr. Hand.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that would have actually been a really cool switch because of age and stuff like that. But I think Ray Liotta did really well as Mr. Hand, but also he was so serious. Like, it was almost to the point where, if you look at it, for Shia LaBeouf to method act and be smoking pot and getting into the zone or whatever, playing this pothead, Ray Liotta was straight up just, I'm Mr. Hand. Like, he was just like, yeah, I'm here. Hi. And just like, wasn't smiling. He's just like, and I was like, is he nervous? Is that what's going on? He's got to be nervous. Is that what it is? He just.
It seemed to me that he was nervous because he tripped over some lines a little bit, like trying to read. Mm-hmm. But also, if you notice, like Shia LaBeouf even was like doing his acting thing, like really fucking good. But he was also laughing at whatever they said before or something that he did. I forget what it was. And he was just cracking up about it. And it was, that part was good. But yeah, Shia LaBeouf, he's always been, you and I loved him from, I saw a movie called The Greatest Game Ever Played. It's about golf. It's a really good movie, even though it's golf. I know I lost everybody with golf, but check it out. It's on Disney, and it's a true story. And, but then Constantine and Holes and, all that, he's just really good.
Yeah.
And then he went off the rails a little bit, and everybody's like, oh my God, but that happens when you're in these cheesy movies that you kind of don't agree with, that you're like, I hate Transformers, and Steven Spielberg's like, then he's out. Yeah. And, Michael Bay's like, fuck that guy. Same thing with, Megan Fox had said some shit about, what's his name, and then apologized, and then got a job with, with the Turtles. So, but it's
I don't know. That's kind of the scary thing though about him, that like he's gone so far to where he is like this almost kind of an eccentric kind of acting weirdness to it, almost Brando-ish.
That and a little bit of Bill Murray. Like, I think he's like, I got my Transformers money, I got my indie money, I got my Disney maybe money, Holes, whatever, who knows how much both did, but
even
he was a Disney boy there for a little bit, so he's got Disney money, so he's and also I think he's just a good actor. I think he can just do stuff, and I think in a way with him he might be kind of natural, where it's like I mean, you could tell it there because you're like, this is a different Shia LaBeouf, like trying it, but almost like a Gary Cooper, these guys who can act, who don't seem like they're acting. They're just, it's so natural. It just kind of flows.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, for one, Ray Liotta was nervous about doing this table read that he's never done before. Nobody had ever done this on Zoom, probably.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and then things that you wonder about her wearing the bikini. If being as her and Brad Pitt now are like friends, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, if he was like, yeah, I got a hat, I got everything. And she's like, oh shit, I'm going to put a bikini on. And he's like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, just all that kind of stuff where, you know, and then even what was cool was Julia Roberts, like laughing at all the stuff, like laughing at everybody. It was just so neat. But yeah, it would have been cool, but you understand why not, because it is better with a different acting group. But it would have been cool to have Jennifer Jason Leigh in there.
Yeah.
And the guy that played, you know, the guy that Matthew McConaughey was playing.
Yeah.
And what I got out of that was, so I had heard forever, you and I love G.I. Joe.
Mhm.
I heard forever the Snake Eyes movies being made. And I was like, yeah, but when? It kept being postponed. It's supposed to be made in 2015, still hasn't been made. And I think it was somebody else before, wasn't it? It was some other guy. And then now all of a sudden, well, no, Storm Shadow was another guy. And I think that's the guy that played, the guy from The Gentleman that played the guy that's teaching about cadavers, biology teacher.
Mhm.
He's playing in Snake Eyes movie. They were like, and you'll see him soon in Snake Eyes. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they do Snake Eyes and they do a really cool Snake Eyes movie. Then that'll be awesome.
Well,
But yeah, the whole thing is great.
my issue is with the Snake Eyes movie is that the whole point of Snake Eyes in the comics was that he was an American soldier,
Yeah.
right? And so, and he was, and when they finally showed what he looked like when they showed just that brief little bit before the blowing of his face and everything that happened in the helicopter, he was a white guy, blonde hair, white guy. But apparently, like they're saying that it's going to be that's not going to be the case in Snake Eyes.
Oh,
So I'm just kind of like, okay, because, you know, I don't know if it's because they want to get away from the whole whitewashing, whatever, when they're trying to do this ninja story. But that's kind of the point, is that it's kind of almost like a Tom Cruise samurai kind of situation where it's, you know what I mean? Like,
well, and it's from what you and I read in the comic. And then I have a newer mini series of Snake Eyes, but it's that thing of him and Storm Shadow, him joining the Akashagi, whatever they're called, clan, and learning from them, a white guy who, you know, was wounded and then becomes Snake Eyes. And then him and Storm Shadow are at odds, but they still love each other. But he thinks that he killed the master, but he didn't kill the master. It was Zartan or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, all that stuff is like way cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, they go with that. Here's what I don't understand, which I loved about Bumblebee. Did Transformers the way Transformers should have been done a long time ago. Bumblebee was perfect. All I want is that guy to do G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Give me Gung Ho in the sleeveless vest. Give me fucking Shipwreck with his blue shirt and his parrot and all this shit. You know, maybe not the parrot, but give me everybody in there.
maybe not the parent.
Give me everybody in their uniforms. You know, give me Flint, give me Duke, give me everybody. Don't give me Duke in an army outfit. Give me Duke in a button-up khaki shirt, and give me Scarlet in that yellow outfit. You know, give me Stalker in his green camouflage.
Well, that was kind of the point, was that, like, in the beginning of G.I. Joe, for the toys, they all looked like army men.
Yeah.
But then it went on to change because of the cartoon. And then because of the cartoon, they started making new characters and everything started changing. But it was almost to a point of they had to stand out from each other.
Yeah.
So it made it easier to say that, okay, G.I. Joe isn't just a regular military. They're a specialty company that deals with Cobra. They deal with terrorism. They deal with threats. So it would make sense if they could basically get away with wearing whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah.
as long as they did their job.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah,
not do it that way? Why not portray it that way in a movie and make it to where these guys, you don't screw with them at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and just giving everybody what they want. Like, have Roadblock rhyme, but not all the time. Yeah, something like that,
all spit.
But yeah, just, I don't know. That's what I want. I just want a G.I. Joe movie that does it right. Those other G.I. Joe movies were okay. Flint showed up, Encino Man showed up for 2 seconds to be Flint and then left. And I was like, oh man, I thought Flint would be like, come on, like, give me Flint. But, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But hopefully it'll be good, but who ever knows? And like you said, like we've said before on, or at least I've said on my podcast when we've done 3 of the Indiana Jones movies, me and my friend Jason. And Indiana Jones 4 we're going to do, but we're going to probably put it with Mad Max Fury Road and put fourth time's a charm, ? The fourth time is Mad Max was good. Crystal Skull was bad. But as Lucas and Spielberg said, no matter what we did, people would complain. So we just did what we wanted to do and said, let's put it out and let's see. And people didn't like it. Some people did. So
Yeah.
like,
Well, and there's the part when you look at it though, that when CG is becoming too much of an overused, when that starts being put into a position where you're just like, oh my God, when a lot of the directing, a lot of the stuff that went into the previous Indiana Jones movies, they were practical things. They were real things. When you're sitting here looking at some of this stuff going, what is going on here? Why is the great, Spielberg resorting to so much CG crap? If that's the case, then maybe he should stop directing.
Yeah. That happened with James Bond as well. It was like all of a sudden, I don't know what came over them, but Die Another Day, my podcast coming out on Wednesday, Die Another Day, the worst James Bond movie in history, that they said, let's do CGI stuff. And they did him like on this rocket car that's fallen over the cliff, and he takes the parachute out and a little thing that he puts on his feet, and he glides down and he gets on some waves, and they play the James Bond music, and it's totally green screen with him holding on to a thing looking, and you're just like, oh, come on, Bond would not do this. This is like horrible. And then they realized, oh, wait, nobody likes that. Let's go to practical stuff. And they put out Casino Royale 4 years later. Fucking kill it.
Yeah.
And I know you want this segue because I know you forget, but behind you is Masters of the Universe. Speaking of horrible CGI, Masters of the Universe movie. And speaking of me, my love of G.I. Joe, and you're a little bit higher love than G.I. Joe is for Masters of the Universe, I would think. You were probably disappointed with the movie that Dolph Lundgren did?
No,
Really?
not at all. Back in the day, I actually loved that movie. I was disappointed with how much of it was done on Earth.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
There was-
If they would have stayed in Eternia, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Did they even touch on Eternia in that movie?
There was a little bit, but it wasn't too much at all. And I haven't watched it in so long. I need to.
See, podcast as a video. There's a video right there.
Yeah.
Do Flash Gordon. Next week we'll do He-Man or vice versa.
Yeah, Flash Gordon and He-Man would be awesome. So the thing is that I just loved
Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, I did. I loved him as He-Man. He did really well, even though it was pretty much like, I mean, he was the part. He looked at the part. If you take away the elements, which was, if you take away the Prince Adam bullcrap of the cartoon and all that crap from the cartoon, and you look at the character itself, just He-Man being He-Man, he did what he was supposed to do. He did really well. he looked the part, and it was awesome. Like I remember seeing it in the theater and seeing him for the when Skeletor, the vision of Skeletor talking to the masses and whatever, and then all of a sudden when it pans down and you see him standing on the hill and he's sitting there just turns, I was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. It wasn't like some overbearing, like short, just stocky dude that could barely move going, I'm human, and that's what I was going to be afraid of, was that, because if you look at the figures, that's what they kind of looked like. Like back in the day, it was like, that's what it looked like. Bodybuilding, basically like a small little Wolverine dude.
That's what I was going to say. Don't forget what you were going to say. I just wrote down Danzig. Remember when everybody's like, Danzig should be Wolverine? Yeah. And everyone was like, yes, he's short. He's fucking Wolverine. Yes. Mm-hmm. Can the guy act? I have no idea. Can he play music? Yeah, we know that, but we don't know if he can act or do snickety snicks. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden they put Hugh Jackman in there and everybody goes, that's my Wolverine. Forget about doing Wolverine ever again. Like, leave it alone.
Well, and the weird thing about it is when Chris Claremont was writing Wolverine in the X-Men comics, he was seeing, what's his name from Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Bob Hoskins?
Yep.
Really?
Yes, that's who he was seeing. He was seeing like a little buff Bob Hoskins with the blades and everything and just being a little asshole. Yeah.
Wow.
That's who he pictured when he was writing. Yeah. Nice little trivia thing there. But no, so.
The more you know. Ding, ding, ding,
yeah.
Ding. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So what I was going to say, though, is as far as like, I saw this when I was in the store in Walmart, and I freaked out. I was like, holy crap. Because if you look at this, it looks almost like identical, other than like they did change the articulation of the arm or whatever. It actually goes out and the wrist moves and everything. And it says right there, because of that, it basically says that, there is retro play, but it has modern posing. The face is different because the mouth was not that far open.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
does that mean that you can have him hold the sword with two hands? Can you do that, or you have an open?
No, because the way that the arm is, it doesn't do like when I said, it doesn't do the swivel like the G.I. Joe guys did, the second generation G.I. Joe guys. But it has the old, picture type stuff.
Can you zoom that into the camera a little bit? Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, they all look. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And that's the thing, though, is that Evelyn was not a thing yet when they first released. So this is still different because where Evelyn is, I'm trying to remember, Merman would have been standing there.
Okay. Yeah.
At that time, Merman was the character because I believe Stratos, the bird guy, the guy with the bird wings that would pop onto his arms or whatever. And I think Stratos and Evelyn were like second generation. But if you look in here, they have the comic books in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
I don't know if they are the original. I have not opened it up to look because I wouldn't remember if they were because I was so young. I'd have to look them up.
Let me ask you, why have you not opened that yet? Because I don't think you're like my wife, who's like, that Adam West could have been worth money, but you opened Mayor West from Family Guy. Now, money. I'm like, I opened it so I could put it on my shelf, and it's got him marrying his hand. His hand's got a little wedding thing on. He's like, which, by the way, another trivia thing, Sam Elliott is replacing, he's going to be the new mayor of on Family Guy instead of Adam West.
Yeah.
Because they put out like a tribute to Adam West, did all this, and now it's going to be Sam Elliott. So that'll be neat. That'll be funny.
Hopefully,
he'll do some funny stuff.
I'm hoping that he has the stash.
Yeah. And hopefully be weird like Adam West was, where he's like, this cat's name is Paul. You don't name a cat Paul. That's a human name. But my wife with the Pop Funkos and stuff, she was like, did you open Sloth? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, Sloth's worth $300. Put him back in the box. I'm like, but I want all the Goonies. I don't have all the Goonies. I have Mikey and I have Sloth.
Yeah, the
I said, I
important
want
ones.
all of them. Do what?
You have the important ones.
Yeah. And I was like, but I want, but anyway. So I would think that you would rip that fucker open when you see the comic book. We should have an unboxing right now. And then you're like, oh, now I remember the comic book, or whatever. But anyway,
That's what I mean. Is like even if I did open that up and I look at it, I wouldn't know for sure if it was the same exact thing or not because it was so long ago.
I would think,
Me being a kid, it got destroyed. I know it did.
yeah, I would think it's got to be the original like stuff. Like this is like old school. And how come you didn't buy He-Man? Did they not have He-Man there? Just
It was
Skeletor?
already gone. Like everything else, like it was empty. The only thing that was left were 3 of these.
That's what's annoying. That's what I do hate with. It's like Walt from Comic Book Men, but he's at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. He used to go to places and be like, "When is your shipment coming in? Let me see them." And somehow got to know them enough where he's like, "Let me see in the boxes." He'd take out all the important shit that was like rare, like only 1 figure per box, and would leave all the others, and then just go and then put a bigger price tag on it at work. And it was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
that was the whole thing that happened with Atomic Comics over there in Arizona. That's all they were doing was they were price jacking everything. Any comic book that was a variant book, they were pulling them out like before you even got in the door. They would pull them out and they would put them in a bag. Or, $15, and it just came out. But I could go to like the mom and pop's store down the street, and they would actually allow you to sift through it and get the comics you wanted, even the variants, and buy them at cover price. So then next thing I know, I'm hearing, wait, Atomic Comics is going out of business? I wonder why. You money grubbing bastards.
It was funny because my friend's sister's, I guess she was my friend, her son loved Captain America. So she was like, oh, I want to get Captain America stuff. So I told them about, before the Captain America movie is out, I said, maybe he'll like this TV movie that Chip and I liked. You should get it. He'll want to ride bicycles out of the back of his van. It should never work. She can't get enough speed. Just fall in your face. And so then I said, she goes, yeah, I got the Death of Captain America or whatever. And I was like, oh, she goes, I bought it from Atomic Comics. It was $15.
I'm going to go straight morbid.
I go, if you went to the comic book store across the street, it's like a mom and pop place, Heroes for Sale, whatever it's called. I said, you go over there. I said, that one's $5. It's a regular price because it just came out. They just increased the price because Death of Superman type stuff, It's like, so.
And they knew they could get away with it, but I think after a while, people started getting smarter about comics.
Yeah.
That had just started getting into it because of all the movies coming out and stuff like that, and they started becoming collectors. Or the smarter comic book collectors were kind of turning to the noobs, going, "Don't do that. Like, why? Why are you putting up with that? They're gouging you," and which I just couldn't believe that they could be allowed to do that. I kind of felt that maybe Diamond Distribution and everybody that they get their comics through should have been reporting to them that this is what's happening, to where they can turn around and go, well, if you keep doing that, or you're basically scalping is what you're doing. Yeah. So we're going to stop doing this. We're going to stop selling to you. Yeah.
But I'm sure it's just a guy coming in who doesn't look like he's a manager of Atomic Comics and being like, I'll take 5 of those, Death of Captain Americas for $5 each. I make $10 on each one. Yeah. Boom. But yeah.
Well, and that's why, what was it? Sean
was the name of your comic. I was in the back of my head. I was like, "What? How come Chip hasn't mentioned that name?" He said the comic book store.
I don't even think they exist anymore. But
I'm taking these off. That bothers me.
But yeah, I think that was the thing though. Is that I think what was it? Sean, I think, was collecting the Spawn figures. Mm-hmm. And those same figures, like the ones that he was trying to hunt down or whatever, Town Comics had them up on the wall already, like the ones with the variant colors or whatever like that, and just boom, you got to pay like $100 for these damn things. It's like what the.
Well, and I have a book at my house. It's like blue that Sean had of all the collectible cards, image cards.
Mhm.
It's all Spawn stuff. It's Violator. It's all these things where he gave it to me. He was like, I'm not going to use this. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So I might try to sell it to a comic book store, but that's my thing. Maybe it's worth a hell of a lot of money. And I'm just going to go, you want to buy this? And they're going to go, yeah, we'll trade you that newest Superman comic. Oh, okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you remember back in the day when I was, buying up all the, like number one issues of things. And
We
all that
both
stuff.
were buying the Pit and all the image shit that we were like, this is going to be worth a lot. And then after, even Sean's friend who was collecting comics and then ended up quitting and left all his comics in a drawer at his work.
Mhm.
And he was like, you can have all those. And Sean's like, oh, okay. So Sean took out all the Spawns, gave it to his nephew, and then was like, and the Spider-Mans maybe. And then said, I have all these. Do you want to buy them from me? I bought them from him for $30. There's Supreme #1,
Yeah.
like the Pit, like all those are in there. I gave you the Ash, that came in there.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit. Like it's got a lot of stuff, a Youngblood.
Well, the problem is that, knowing like,
Oversaturation.
yeah, it was oversaturation, and it basically flooded the market and kind of destroyed the comic book market for quite a while, quite a few years. But it also kind of brought the big two, Marvel and DC, down a notch.
Mhm.
Because, and the independents started kind of coming up on their heels hard. So that's kind of cool. But at the same time, it was really, really bad because there were so many people with boxes and boxes like myself of comics that were just, they thought were going to be worth a lot, had 20 copies of one, a number one issue of something. And that was the issue with it, was that it made the companies go all in to making these issues with variant covers and special glittery covers, whatever they were doing, thinking, oh, well, this is just going to keep going. Like, let's ride this wave. And then the wave started going crashing hard because it was like, you realize it isn't that there are 1 million people buying this book. It's, 5 million.
One guy buying 1 million books.
Yeah. Well, it's like 500,000 people are, buying multiple books or whatever, kind of a thing, multiple copies of a book. And it's because at most a good run, I think they said that a really good run was 250,000 copies.
Yeah.
Or something. Now, if you inflate that to 1 million, a couple million or whatever, then something's up. People are buying multiple copies of it. Like it's not all of a sudden just out of nowhere, word of mouth, and they're like, you gotta buy this comic, it'll change your life. That's not what it is. It's people thinking they're gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they think they're basically saving for their kids' college fund by putting these comics in.
I was going to say, it's parents and stuff going, oh, this Guardians of the Galaxy just came out. Let's go buy that comic and find, and whatever, So, yeah.
So, but back to this.
Sorry.
So the thing is that back in the day, a lot of people that are going to look at this, that know enough about He-Man, know about the cartoon, the craptastic cartoon. I mean, I did like the cartoon to a point because of the new characters that came out and everything like that at the time when I was watching it. But I hated the Prince Adam part of it. I hated the fact that he changed, and I hated that it had a segment just like all the other cartoons at the time, like Thundercats, like
Voltron.
Yeah, Voltron, all that, where it had a segment that was basically the same exact scene every cartoon of the transformation, type of situation. And so, but the thing is that it was my birthday. My birthday was always right after school started. So I was at school. There was, I remember there was no real plan for a birthday party for that year. I was walking home from school. I get in the door, I open up the door, and apparently what my parents had done was they didn't know what to get me. Usually I was the little kid that was basically like, I want this, 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 and this, and this. For whatever reason, I guess this year I had no clue what I wanted, or I said if something and they couldn't find it or something. I don't remember, because apparently I didn't care once I saw the He-Man crap. But
Yeah.
so basically, they went to a comic book or to a toy store and talked to them, and it was just like recommendations. What do you think we should do? And the guy was like, "Oh, this He-Man stuff's going to be big. Like we've been selling it like crazy. This stuff looks amazing, blah, blah, blah." And so they were like, okay. And they didn't just go, okay, well, we're going to buy this dude and He-Man. When I walked in the door, there was Castle Grayskull already built.
Mhm. Awesome.
He-Man and the Battle Cat were together in the box still. They hadn't actually been taken out, I don't think. They might have been taken out. I don't remember. But basically all the characters were right there. It was basically He-Man, Battle Cat, and Skeletor. That was it. Those are the characters. They had the two main characters, of course.
Yeah.
And Castle Grayskull. So I'm sitting here going, this is amazing. Like what is this? This looks so cool. Like it just, my imagination went, holy crap, right? And so my parents are just honest. We're just kind of like, we didn't know what to get you. Guy at the toy store said this stuff is cool, and I was like, okay. And they came with these comic books.
Mhm.
When you read these comic books, it was very much each one of them, which is still the same in this box. He has the staff, but he also has half of the sword that He-Man was flinging around in the cartoon where I have the power crap. It's not. It wasn't supposed to be that way originally. In the comic book, they each had a half of the sword, and they were fighting over the other half so that they could put them together and open up Grayskull. Like the actual toy of Castle Grayskull had a little hole in it where you would lock it from the other side, but you would take the sword, put it in the hole, and it would unlock it to where the drawbridge would come down, and you were the master of Grayskull. That was it. And basically all the powers of Grayskull, all the secrets, and the power of the sorceress basically was yours. Almost like a genie in a bottle type of thing. And so reading the comics, I had two comics. I think there might have been one that came with Grayskull, but I'm not sure. But you read that and you see this lore and it looks so cool. And, you're just like, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden, not that long afterwards, the damn cartoon comes out and just screws up everything.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what the hell? Like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Well, and then you talked about oversaturation, and on that Toys That Made Us that I told you should really check out, at least the He-Man one.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about, then it was like, we need to come up with different bad guys. So then they just color a bad guy a different color, put him out. So it would be Merman, but he'd be red or something like that. And they put him out or put somebody else out. And then they said, then we had all these bad guys and no good guys. Like, we're done with our good guys. And then it just kind of went downhill from there. And people are like, no, we're done. Yeah. And I remember something that's funny that Chip got mad at me one day. He's like, what are you going to get my kids? Or whatever. What are you going to get for the, whatever. What are you going to get these kids? How about that? For the Christmas. And I said, I'll get He-Man something, because He-Man was coming out. So he's like, okay. So I get one He-Man for two kids. I gotta get one He-Man, no bad guy. And Chip's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you just got one. He's like, come here. I'm like, what? You just got one bad guy and then you got him something else? No, you need to get a good guy and a bad guy. Give him that. Like, don't you remember being? And I was like, yeah, I remember. I'm sorry, I forgot. I was just thinking this would be cool for him. And you're like, you fucking, now I got to go buy a bad guy, or now I got to go buy a good guy. And I'm like, shit. And then, the same thing happened to us, just because Chip and I are like-minded. So one Halloween, I want to dress like Spider-Man. I got the Spider-Man outfit. I spent $35 for it. Zips up in the back. It's really cool. Other than my dad bought in it, I look like Spider-Man. And so I show up to this Halloween, and there's this young kid who's like 4 or 5, and he's dressed as Spider-Man. And I'm like, his shit sucked, but mine was on fucking point. And so I'm like, oh shit, this kid. I go, honey, he wants to be. Granted, so I was already married. You thought I was little. No, I was a full grown 38-year-old dude. No, I was 40 something because I'm 49 now. It's probably 43, 45, whatever. And so this kid was Spider. So I go, honey, that kid, he's Spider-Man. Maybe I shouldn't put on the Spider-Man outfit to go trick-or-treating. And she goes, it doesn't matter. You can be Spider-Man. She's a girl. She don't know. And I'm like, but he thinks he's Spider-Man. Now I'm going to show up and I look more like what you see in the movies, maybe, with my dad body. And so I go, what should I? She goes, I don't think it matters. So I text Chip. Hey, Chip, I'm here, 5-year-old, just like Spider-Man. What should I do? Chip's like, go talk to the kid. I'm like, okay. I lay down with the kid on the ground. I go, hey, man, you like Spider-Man? He's like, yeah. I go, I was going to be Spider-Man for Halloween. Oh. I said, is it okay if I'm Spider-Man also? Yeah. Okay. I don't even know if anything went in his ear because he was just, okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. I was like, all right. I go in the restroom. I change to Spider-Man. I come out. His eyes are like, hey, Spider-Man. Oh, my God. And I'm like, yeah, I told you I was going to dress like Spider-Man. And he's like, I go, is this okay? He's like, yeah, it's okay. So I got a picture of like me and him as Spider-Man. It's funny. But yeah, it was one of those where I had to call Chip. What do you think?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, don't think too hard into it. Don't, in your own.
Well, I'm sure my wife was like, you're thinking too hard into it. But I think also you were thinking as a kid, dressed as Spider-Man, which my dad's imitation of Chip growing up was Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Because, yeah, you had the white Spider-Man shirt. And, yeah, and the way you said it was fun because I don't think you had the tubes in your nose yet. So you were like, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. And so my dad would be like, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Anyway, so it was cute.
Well, it's funny because instead of going thwip, 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 I'm saying Spider-Man, Spider-Man. That's the noise that it makes or something?
Yeah. It's like I was listening to on one of those videos. It was Ewan McGregor with the lightsabers on who was the guy? Graham Norton. Mm-hmm. And he said it was really hard when you first get into a Star Wars movie to not go boom, boom. He goes, you do it first, then you realize, oh, wait, we can't do that. Yeah. And then the other guy, I forget who the other guy was on there with him, but the other guy was like, did you hear that when Stallone did Rocky, they had a really hard time with the audio because every time he would punch, he would go, and so they had to like take that out. So it was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, yeah, so that was.
I was going to say, it made me think because of the Spider-Man, the Spider-Man. Me and my underoos with my Superman cape on. Mm-hmm. Because what I did was I had the underoos, the Superman underoos with the shirt and the underwear, and then I went and I put on the light blue pajama light bottoms, pulled those on, and then I pulled the underoos over them.
Oh yeah.
Right. Thing was though is I didn't think, all right, I'm just gonna put on, since I don't have red shoes, I'm gonna put on red socks or something like that. So when I was running up and down the sidewalk in front of my house, just back and forth, going like this with my cape.
You weren't wearing stripper heels?
Yeah, no, not this time.
I thought that's where the story was going. So I got into my mom's thing. I got some high heel fuck me boots. And I was running back and forth. And I'm like, wow, as a little kid in your mommy's boots. And then you're like, and then I broke my ankle because I was trying to be Superman.
No, it basically sounded like I was the Flintstones trying to run with, start up the car. Because all you heard was my little pickup just going up and down. Like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah. trying to make your cape go, like you said. That was always the thing. Like, I got to go fast enough to where my cape will, it's not fluttering right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that thing was like heavy as hell too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that thing just
Yeah,
for my
'cause you were
size
smart.
and stuff, I was like, yeah.
Because you were smart. I had grandma make the Superman cape. You had her make the cape, but you did the iron on. I had her make the cape and do the thing. And she got the
I don't
S
think
backwards.
she made. Did she make the cape?
I thought you said she made the cape and then you just ironed on the thing.
I don't know for sure because mom and
Maybe
dad
they bought one.
got it. Maybe she made it or something. But I know they took it to the glass cage inside of Valley West Mall and they got the iron on from there,
Right.
put on there.
Yeah, because we did. I was watching the old 50s Superman and I'm like, Grandma, I want that cape. And she's like, okay. And she would like try to look at it and she did the S. I don't think she even knew it was an S. She tried to do the symbol and I think it was backwards.
Oh, okay.
And I had that cape for a while and then I got rid of it and now I could kick myself because I should have kept it because it was something that my grandma made.
Yeah.
But and I used to tie the towel around my neck, try to be a space ghost and try to be Battle of the Planets. Like I fucking love all that shit. But yeah, it's childhood. I love childhood.
Yeah, I don't remember. Because I know, like, the cape, it had, like, I think what it was is, like, the cape itself started, like, after so many years or whatever, it started fraying and started ripping or whatever. And I don't remember what happened to it after that. I think a dog might have gotten a hold of it or something, ripped it even more.
Mine might have done that. I couldn't wear it to work. I know that. That's how long I had it. But yeah, mine had the tie strings and it might have started getting frayed up here. But yeah. No, it was good times. Well, you need to find He-Man and Merman and Man-at-Arms at least. At least He-Man, Man-at-Arms, him and Evil Lynn or something. You know, had those four.
And that's what I was going to say, is that you were talking about them changing the color of everybody. Yeah, they made a bad guy out of He-Man. That's when they made Faker. Because they colored his skin like light blue or whatever, and he had orange hair. And they called him Faker. And I was like, okay. And then they finally, like, they came out with the figure, and I think it took forever for them to actually put him. I think it was like right near the end, I think, that the cartoon was about to be over or whatever, so they finally introduced Faker in the cartoon or something like that. In one episode, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I know I started tapering off as I was just kind of like getting older and just didn't give a crap. But
well, that's what happened to me. Where I was telling Jason I used to take apart my GI Joe figures. He was like, I was always jealous of the guys who could do that. I said it was pretty easy. You do a screw, you undo the rubber band. I said so. I would take Flint's outfit of the bottoms, but I'd put Mutt in Junkyard. Like I put Mutt on top of it, you know, and put it together because he had the cool shoulder holster and everything. But anyway.
yeah, because I did that too. I created my own dreadnought to be part of Zartan's dreadnoughts or whatever. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No, didn't.
I had separate. I had multiple parts from different characters because of characters that got broken or whatever like that. So I went ahead and I grabbed a chest that I thought was cool and legs that I thought was cool. And I put an arm on that had like the tattoo or whatever, but it was Spirit's head.
Mm-hmm.
So I ripped off his hair, and then I took the hair from Buzzer, the blonde hair, and I cut it into a mohawk, and I put it on there. And then what I did was I had a kind of a broken the back part of Optimus Prime, the trailer. Mm-hmm. And so I unscrewed the little robot dude that kind of came up. He had that little arm that could grab onto things, whatever. And I popped that out, and I asked my dad to shave the ball, the joint that it used, down to where it was small enough to perfectly fit inside of a G.I. Joe guy. So he was like he had this like long robotic arm that he could just pick up people, and he was a new Dreadnought. And I made my own little file card, drew the character, and did my own primary, secondary.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. To show you what an old bloomer I was, what a late bloomer I was. Freshman year of high school, me and my friend Dan Neiman go to his house. He has the APC, the all personnel character, and it floats in the pool, and he had a pool, and I was like, yeah. And so we'd go swim in the pool and fucking drive that into the pool, and I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And then his dad was the one that we loved, the A-Team, and his dad made him like cut off the butt of the gun and made it like the A-Team M14. And I was like, oh, so I went and bought one and brought it to him, and he cut mine down, and I was like, awesome, now I got one. And then shortly, a little bit after that, Dan Neiman got a girlfriend who was this girl that was always chasing me through high school named Felicia. And all of a sudden, he's like, not playing G.I. Joe anymore. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? And then I'm realizing, like, wait a minute, I'm going to be a sophomore in high school or whatever, and I need to maybe get rid of these toys and give them to my cousin who's 3 years younger. And I gave them to you. And then you turned around almost instantly and was like, yeah, I'm too old for this shit. And I was like,
yeah,
what?
and that was the thing is that, I thought it was awesome. And at a point where I was sitting there going, I'm going to be a collector. I'm going to hold on to these because I can't get rid of these. But then I did get to that point. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was what turning point it was for me, but I remember taking it and going, I think for me, it was, I thought I was going to be the good cousin like you were for me. I was going to do that for Brandon.
Okay. Yeah.
I gave it to Brandon. And of course I wasn't thinking he's not an only child. And so the parents were like, well, you got to share with your little brother. And the little brother destroyed everything. Rocky destroyed everything. And I came over probably a month later and just saw everything was missing, all the parts, because I had everything perfectly together, all the guns together perfectly so that you could put them with who they went to. I had everything.
I gave you the G.I. Joe base, like everything.
Yeah. And that was the thing, is that everything you gave me, along with everything I already had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with all of that together, and it was just destroyed. There was no way to salvage anything. Like like you saw G.I. Joe guys, like the rubber band thing that was like,
yeah.
And they were just legs over there, top over there. And I was like, oh my God.
Like the Scarecrow. Part of me is over there and the other part's over there.
Yeah.
It's like, why is Zartan's head here? Where's Zartan? I don't know. I think Rocky ate it. But that's where also, I don't know where you're going to cut this. But that's where also.
Cut it soon because it's.
I meant from before, but no, I get you. The thing, so then years later, Chip and I are like 20, I'm like 25, maybe Chip's 22, maybe it's a little later than this. And we're at a toy store, we're somewhere, and we see these G.I. Joe figures under glass. And we're like, oh, wow, we should get these G.I. Joe figures and do like we used to do. Yeah. So we buy General Flag, we buy Duke, we buy some Cobra guys, we buy Cobra Commander, we buy Major Blood, we buy all these characters. And we bring him back to his house. We're in his bedroom. And then I'm like, so I'm setting them up like I used to do, where there'd be in these motions of like their legs a little bent and their arms a little bent. And that's how they jump off of a cliff to tackle somebody. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doing this and I'm like, and I'm trying to make them fight because that's how they punch. Yeah. And Chip and I are both playing, and we kind of look at each other. I don't know if it happened immediately. I don't know if
it was pretty quick. We kind of looked at each other.
We were like, this ain't working. Like, this isn't as fun as we thought. Like, we thought we'd relive our childhood by like getting G.I. Joe guys and making up a story. And we were like, no, it's not working. So,
and that's what sucks about it, is that I think that's why action figures became a thing for adults. It's because just to look at them, set them up, make them look nice. Mm-hmm. That's about it. There's nothing else you could do. You can remember, like I can, about the time that my parents, filled my birthday with, Masters of the Universe awesomeness, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Joe bought me the Vamp with the machine gun on the back and and clutch and everything. So I have that set up. I don't have it set up right now, but I have like that. I have like, it's all the nostalgia. I don't know what it is. I know some people are like living the now, but other people are like you know, like me, I just love all the old shit. Like I've talked about before, you and I with Manimal, and you and I with, you know, just all these old things that we grew up with. That is like, yeah, I remember watching that on TV. I remember watching Moonlighting, or I'll tell the wife like, oh, Who's the Boss? I saw this when it first came out, you know. Growing Pains, like, you know, wanting to be, you know, wanting to be Rick Schroeder, wanting to be fucking Kirk Cameron's character, Mike Seaver, like all that stuff, like, you know.
Well, that's the issue, though, is that I think I'm starting to get to that point now where it has to be specific. Items like this, of course, because I can link that directly to my birthday of walking in the door. The transformer up there of Hound, the Jeep, the military Jeep, when you transform him into the military Jeep, it doesn't look the same. I mean, because it is, even though it's the same character, it's a newer version of him. He isn't one of the retro ones, like kind of like this is. So when he's transformed into the actual robot, he looks like Hound from before, enough like Hound. So that's enough for me to just have him as the character. I transformed him once into the Jeep, and he looks like a piece of crap, and it's very hard to put together. It was ridiculously hard to put together. They were not that hard when they first came out. But that's nostalgic for me because that was the first actual Transformer I ever bought. That was the first time I ever saw a Transformer, was when I went into whatever it was, Lucky's or Safeway or whatever it was. It was right down from my mom's bar that she owned. I went there. There was maybe a 4 to 8 foot section of toys. And there were 2 Transformers there, Prowl and Hound. Bought Hound, and then the next time I had the money, I bought Prowl. Those are my first 2 Transformers. My third one was the I believe it was purple. I kind of get a little iffy on blue or purple, but I think it was kind of a purplish color. The Jet Thundercracker. That looked exactly like Starscream, Thundercracker, and I forget what the third one was. But they all looked exactly the same. They were just different colors with different markings, sticker markings that you put on. Those are the first 3. But those are the things now. I've kind of gotten to the point now where I don't collect all the things anymore. I don't do what I used to do, or just have to have anything that, you know, it has to be specific, or it's just clutter. It's pointless. I don't need them all. So,
well, that's like, it's like I told the wife, I want to get a DVD shelf, which I have Blu-rays and DVDs. I want to get a shelf, but I also want some extra spaces in that shelf, kind of like you have back there, kind of like not shadow boxes, but I want spaces to put my Freddy Krueger glove, my G.I. Joe toy, my, Star Wars, what's the thing in the sand? Not a tauntaun. No, the dinosaur-like thing that the stormtrooper is driving on. He said, "Look, sir, droids." Like, anyway, but that thing, like, I have that set up, so all this stuff. But yeah, I told you, well, I haven't told your audience. I went to a toy store one day. There's one here in Phoenix. It's called Collectible Marketplace. And it's a consolidated. Some people like have their own little nook of like wrestling, like all wrestling. So they have the old wrestling figures, and I was like, oh shit, I want to get those for Chip. And Andre the Giant's bigger than Hulk Hogan. And then you go down, and in the back they have Star Wars, but they also have some Star Wars sprinkled through, but one guy just does all Star Wars, and they have Millennium Falcon there. And I was like, oh, it's put together. It's all got stickers on it. It's all good. And I'm like, oh, I want to get this, $150. And I'm like, if I buy this, I've never had a Millennium Falcon. I'll finally have a Millennium Falcon. I'll bring it home. What am I going to do? Hang it from the ceiling? And that's it? Like, is it worth the $150? It's not reliving my childhood because I never had it. If I get a snow speeder, it's a little more like you with that. Like, I remember Christmas morning opening it up. There's a snow speeder. Awesome. So it's those things where, am I going to spend a lot? No. And yeah, it's got to be specific. Like, if I find, like, I have a Battle of the Planets figure. his cape is starting to break off. But I love it because I remember watching that as a kid, and it was, you know, great stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
those are the things, and I don't know what it is with nostalgia. I don't know if it's an innocent time, if it's because you didn't have bills to pay and you didn't have to work, and
Yeah.
you know, it was just a glorious time or what. But that's why I'm telling you to watch the Toys That Made Us, because they have a G.I. Joe one, a He-Man one, Transformers, even the ones that you don't think are going to be good, Power Rangers, fucking Hello Kitty is like really interesting how that came about. Like, oh,
Yeah.
so
Um,
anyway, that's my story.
yeah. All right. I think this has gone on quite a bit. And
Yeah, you're going to have a lot to edit.
yeah. Well, with both videos.
Are we supposed to say goodbye? Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. Which I guess we probably should have started with you actually saying where you're from as far as
Oh, I'm from
podcast.
Phoenix, Arizona. Yeehaw!
Your podcast.
Oh, I'm from my Celluloid Heart podcast here in Texas, Arkansas. You know, I'm from Tex-Mex. I'm from Texarkana. And, you know, sometimes I get the Bud Light and I run it across the border, me and the bandit. Yeah. No, do you need that from me? Okay, here. Hey, Chip, where am I from, you ask? I am from My Celluloid Heart podcast. It comes out whenever it comes out, but you can look for it on Apple iTunes and Podbean and all this stuff called My Celluloid Heart podcast. And right now I'm doing James Bond movies. Normally I take 2 movies, put them together by one topic or theme, and that's what it is. And then I throw some facts in there, a little soupçon of some facts. So that's what I am. That's who I am. Oh, and I'm your cousin, and I'm 3 years older than you. And we're a lot alike, so we're more like brothers and cousins. But there you go. That's me.
There we go. All right.
So now in the beginning, you can go, and Philip, what do you do? And then it'll cut to this clip. Then it'll cut to all of us. So, yeah.
All right.
All right. Well,
Say goodnight, Gracie.
good night, Gracie. See, you get it. I get it. Fucking Brant Dotson doesn't get it when I say good night, Gracie. I told you that story, right? I said,
Yeah,
say good
Brant.
night, Gracie.
Hey.
And he goes, do what?
You know what we're going to give Brant?
What? Hearing aids? Yes. Oh, wait. I got a second one. They were half off at Target. Yeah. So, yeah, Brant, at the end of the show, I go, say goodnight, Gracie. And he was just like, good night, Gracie? Like, seriously, like, good night, Gracie. Like, didn't know what I was talking about. And I'm like, okay. So,
All right.
anyway.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to end the show.
Oh, thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You got to be a better director. Hang on. Let's do the old school video that we used to do. Hang on. I say, hey, Chip, you know what? And then it always cracked me up. You were on the other side of the video. And you go, what? And I just started laughing. I couldn't even get my lines out when we were making that movie. Because every time I was like, okay, do it again. And you were like, what? Like, that was your look. What? And I couldn't go. You know what's weird is when your dad's your mom and your mom's your dad. Like, I couldn't do any of that because you were just like, what? It was hilarious.
So if you've made it this far in the video to the very end,
Golf
that-
clap.
you know,
And it worked.
like, subscribe, whatever. Oh God.
Share. You could share.
You could share. You could share. But right now, we're going to have a moment of silence for Brant's sense of humor.
Okay.
Okay. All right. He's not going to like me.
Yeah. That moment was too long. I could have held it forever.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Yes. Thank you.